everyone, we are Daniela Monzon, Yorel Camacaro, modern language students passionate about our Venezuelan culture.
With our video, The Whistle of Darkness, Nights of Fire and Death, we want to show you a little bit of what represents us as Venezuelans, as we grew up watching and listening to these legends of our country. We hope you enjoy them as much as we did.
Legends tell that in a town on the Venezuela llanos, a young couple in the springtime of their love already consecrated the altar moved into a house where they hoped to start a family. In the vast land surrounding the property, he dedicated himself to tending cattle and planting crops, while she cared for him each time he returned. However, a third person occupied the budding family life. Not a lover, nor a stepchild, but the father of the man who worked day and night for his wife. As the days passed, the father-in-law grew closer and closer to his daughter-in-law. At first, it was simple kindness, a door opened for her here and there, heavy grocery bags the father-in-law would grab as soon as he saw his daughter-in-law struggling to carry them. In short, nothing a gentleman wouldn't do for a lady. This attention led to Chateauba cup of coffee sweetened with brown sugar, sometimes accompanied by bread dipped in it, usually spread with butter handmade by the lady of the house. Between afternoon snacks, where they also eat arepas and suero, the old man and his daughter-in-law would talk until her husband returned, who always entered the house whistling a musical scale. At first, it was just laughter and story of the llanos. Then she noticed how the father-in-law would accidentally touch her fingers. These accidents became more and more frequent, giving a lady, perhaps too young to master the art of subtle rejection, would smile politely, her eyes not quite shut like anyone does out of politeness. The father-in-law, believing his feelings were reciprocated, decided to push further. The more light touches. Sometimes it was a hug held too long. Other times, a caress of her. The young wife could not longer tolerate it, and slowly began to distance herself. She no longer prepared the afternoon snacks or shared the story of the llanos. She waited in silence until she heard her husband whistle who arrived home, suspecting nothing about his father. As the days went by, her affection for her husband grew, as did the father's anger. His fury consumed the love he once had for his son. It was on a great night when the father-in-law, overcome by his rage and lost, raped his daughter-in-law, leaving her unconscious in the bed she shared with her beloved husband. Where there were once caresses, now there were wounds. Where the love between two soulmates was meant to be conceived, now there was blood. Where the father's laughter once equaled, now the son's whistle sounded. The melody gave way to the heart-wrenching scream of a husband who found his wife raped and unconscious. Completely ignorant of a culprit, he rode towards town, taking hands to seek help from his father. He found him there, playing cards. He told him what had happened, to which the father responded with laughter. That was horror asking for it, and yes, it was me. A cry, the brandishing of a silver blade stained red, and that was all. The son tells his father. When his grandfather found out, he went, where he found him to his grandson's house. They dragged him out, and in front of his wife, he was whipped by the father of his deceased progenitor. Before letting him go, they rubbed hot chili peppers into his wounds, then unleashed a rabid dog after him, which finally caught him. The last thing the man heard before dying from the dog's bite was his grandfather's curse, condemning him to wander the llanos forever, carrying his father's bone on his back, whistling, unable to speak. Since then, El Silbón appears on the llanos at night, whistling his song. When it's loud and clear, it means he's far away, but faint and diffuse, it warms, he's near, about to attack the next victim. Those who have survived claim his appearance is humanoid, with reddish skin like so long that when he sits, his knees rise above his head. He wears a hat that shades his lying sack he carries on his back, containing his father's bone. They also say, and rightly so, that the only way to drive El Silbón away is by throwing hot chili peppers at him, or being saved by the back of a dog.
Candelaria was the kind of woman who appears in every man's dreams. A lady with long black hair, cascading over cinnamon skin, a wasp waist, and voluptuous curves. Of course, in those eastern llanos, few men could have such a woman. One was Don Esteban, an extraordinary musician and formidable dancer, whose gallantry not only won Candelaria, but also many other women at the parties and festivities on the llanos he attended in his bachelor days. With this llanera maiden, he had two sons, as graced as their parents, Sigifredo, the elder, and Esteban, the younger. For some years, Don Esteban's burning desires remained buried beneath his duties as a husband and a father. But a leopard cannot change its spots, and he proved it when he wanted to go alone to a party the llaneros called San Pascual Bailón. His reasons for wanting to go alone without Candelaria were known only to him, and as expected, it wasn't long before she heard of her husband's plans from others. Candelaria threatened to kill her husband if he didn't take her. He answered her threat with mockery, which only fueled her rage. Her fury led Candelaria to murder her husband with machete blows in front of their two sons, who then helped her dismember the body and bury it in the yard. It was a heart attack, she'd say whenever asked about her husband's death. There was no reason to doubt the beautiful widow, who was soon courted by all sorts of men eager to replace the deceased. She rejected each and every single one of them, dedicating herself solely to raising her sons, unafraid of feeling the sting of a man's rejection again. Her life continued this way until Sigifredo, her eldest son, turned 18. Made the man of the house by his mother, Sigifredo began accompanying her everywhere, sleeping in the same bed, and finally committing the sin of becoming her lover. Contrary to her desire to never to be tied to a husband again, Candelaria isolated the young man from all parties and gatherings, fearing he might be tempted by another woman. This time, it wasn't the threat of another woman that ended her relationship with her new lover, the one she had also given birth to. This time, she did it herself, without violence. She simply pushed him away when she found herself attracted to her second son. Once young Esteban reached adulthood, he far surpassed his brother in charm and presence. He showed great aptitude for life on the llanos, and his fierce rudeness was balanced by fine manners. Candelaria tried to draw him closer, but he responded only as a son, accompanying his mother. The most lavish attentions she offered him did not sway away his morals, which dictated that this woman was only his mother, and therefore he could not desire her. Such was Esteban's devotion to righteousness that he decided to dedicate his life to the church. In an attempt to make peace with his mother before leaving, he was murdered in the same way as his father. In the end, Candelaria was left in the company of Sigifredo, who, just as in his childhood days, helped his mother dispose of the body of another man that had disappointed her. Only this one did so not in the name of sin, but in the name of God. Upon their deaths, mother and son were condemned by the divine presence to become a great ball of fire that appears in the llanos at night, stalking, womanizing men. Those who pray out of fear attracted, and in fleeing to avoid being burned alive, they end up lost in the wilderness forever. Only the forewarned are saved, for they know that the souls of Candelaria and Sigifredo, condemned to burn eternally in those llanos where they committed incest, yearn for the salvation of prayer, and thus fear anyone who curses them. Only those who curse them in time or manage to mark their path during the chase escape its flame. El Silbón and la Bola de Fuego, legends of the Venezuelan llanos.